Officials say that more than 100 aftershocks have rocked the area, including one that was nearly as strong as the original earthquake, just as massive. And look at those buildings just collapsing into dust before our eyes. CNN international anchor Becky Anderson, she is in Gaziantep, Turkey. We spoke to you earlier. You were outside a building where they were hoping to make a rescue there. To describe what you're seeing this morning.
Yeah, Jim, it's heartbreaking. It sounds as if they may just about to be call for quiet once again. This building behind me has completely collapsed, and as the search and rescue teams here understand it, they believe that there are more than 15 people still in the rubble beneath this building. If you just look to the building on the left-hand side, you can see the extent of the building as it stood just some 40 hours ago before that earthquake at 4:30 in the morning on Monday. And they are now just turning that generator down. So I'm going to stand out of the shop because they're going to call for quiet. It sounds as if they may now be once again hoping for an extraction. Well, they've kept the generator on, which means that they haven't asked for silence as of yet. They have heard the voices, Jim, of 3 people during the period of time that we've been here. So they are hoping that they will be able to extract people alive still from here. There is hope. It's been, 40 hours now. It's bitterly cold. It's just about -1 here at present, and it was bitterly cold at 4:30 in the morning on Monday when this earthquake struck. But there are potentially pockets beneath this building where people could still be alive. You know, over the years when we've been reporting on this, it's become clear that people do survive if they're warm and if they've got water. They can survive for as many as 13 days. But obviously, search and rescue becomes a recovery situation the longer that things go on. And we've been talking to people who are gathered here. I mean, there are people just behind me here with their blankets on. This group of people over here are from this building. We've just been talking to a gentleman whose mum and dad live in this building. He was in tears. He's just hoping that his mum and dad may survive this. But yeah, it's a desperate situation here in Gaziantep, which is Ibrahimili, which is to the west of Gaziantep. Apologies, just watching the van behind me as people really just hope for some good news at this point, Jim.
Becky, there's also, we know dozens of countries have committed to sending aid. Some of those teams, too, are already in the region. Part of the challenge in some areas is not just having enough people on the ground there, but actually getting to some of these areas. Right, Becky?
You're absolutely right. We came in with the Emirati team. The UAE have sent a search and rescue team. They've sent equipment, huge equipment, ambulances and search and rescue vehicles. And so we came in on that aid flight overnight. And they're one of, as I understand it, as many as 50 countries now sending in equipment, sonar devices, dogs, assets on the ground, equipment, to ensure that as much is done as possible in situations like this. But you're absolutely right to point out Gaziantep is a relatively new town and has relatively good services here. The buildings are relatively new and relatively robust. And I have to say, as we came in from the airport, a lot of the buildings retain their structure, and it's not clear, as we were coming in from the airport, that all buildings by any stretch of the imagination have been affected. But there are certain areas in town where clearly you can see the sort of devastation that you see behind me, and that is all the way up and down this area. So those teams coming in are absolutely crucial, because the Turkish authorities are absolutely stretched in a relatively modern, relatively robust city like Gaziantep. So you can only imagine what has happened in towns and cities away from here, perhaps as close to the epicenter of this earthquake, but by no means as robust a state. Older buildings that weren't built to withstand a quake like this. And don't forget, at 7.8, and that was the first quake, there have been, as you rightly point out, more than 100 aftershocks, some of which have been almost as big as that original aftershock. I mean, it's unclear at this point just what sort of devastation exists outside of this area. And spare a thought for those in northwestern Syria, in Aleppo and in Idlib. I was just talking to a gentleman whose sister lives there. They have no water, no electricity, no gas or fuel. They are in a mosque. The family that I'm referring to, sheltering in a mosque. She has reported that the buildings around her are absolutely devastated in Aleppo, and very little aid, as we know, is getting into that area. Much easier to get aid into here, Jim.
I'll tell you, that image of the father holding his daughter's hand, that'll be impossible to forget. I hope you get some good news there of extractions. Becky Anderson, thanks so much.
Heartbreaking scenes we just saw there in Gaziantep. People buried under the rubble, calling out. Some people even texting from under the rubble. We heard earlier today that President Erdogan had declared a state of emergency for 3 months. We've been hearing, I think, up to 70 nations now pledging to send help. But is any of this help getting through? What is the latest on the wider rescue efforts happening across the region?
Extraordinary reporting there, of course, with those live images from our Becky Anderson. That is just one scene that is playing out all across a region where that very dramatic, very difficult moments are just repeating themselves over and over again. This is a moment where there is just the tiniest glimmer of hope that there might still be survivors. But you are talking about a massive scale when it comes to this crisis, something entirely unprecedented, even for a country like Turkey that's been preparing for decades for an earthquake. Just to give you a sense of it, I want to pull up a map to show you the affected area. An area so huge that stretches all across southern Turkey down into Syria. The World Health Organization says 23 million people affected. And just try and comprehend those numbers that we have so far. More than 5,000 people killed. Here in Turkey alone, more than 22,000 wounded people, people who need medical care, people who need clinics and hospitals. And it's only the beginning, right? Aid workers are warning that there could potentially be thousands more people still trapped under the rubble. I mean, there are entire families that could be just crushed, disappeared overnight in this earthquake. And it did occur, of course, at 4 in the morning, just after 4 in the morning. Everyone would have been home. Everyone would have been sleeping. That's why you're seeing this very massive death toll. And the result of that is Turkey simply did not have the resources to fan out across the country, fan out across this disaster zone in the last 36, 40 hours. There were parts of the country where there was no help, where people slept on the streets at night in freezing temperatures with no food, no water, no access to sanitation, and most importantly, no information. Here in Turkey, on every TV station, there are rolling live images, of course, of these rescue operations happening in multiple towns and cities. And the first thing you notice in those images is the families that are standing there watching these rescue workers, wishing and hoping and waiting and praying that one of their loved ones is found alive. But as every moment passes, that hope fades evermore.
Yeah, and Salma, as you speak, we are seeing one of those rescue missions in operation. We've got live pictures coming in to us here showing a rescue team on top of a pile of rubble, as we've seen, as you say, in so many other areas across the country, people risking their lives to try and pull people out from underneath that rubble. But the situation, as we know, Salma, could be far, far worse in Syria, which has been ravaged by civil war. What do we know of any aid that has been able to get through to the northwest, particularly when the UN have been saying today that that one crucial corridor that links Turkey to Syria has been damaged by the earthquake?
It seems for now that aid workers, humanitarian groups have been unable to get aid into critical areas in Syria. But let me start by explaining the challenge that they face, right? So you are looking at a country that has been in conflict now for nearly 12 years. The northwest of Syria, which has been struck by this earthquake, affected by this earthquake, was one of the hardest hit areas during the conflict, constantly bombarded, hit with shelling. The critical infrastructure there is essentially damaged or destroyed. You're talking about a region where hospitals, schools, clinics were targeted. Many people already had no humanitarian help, already had very limited health care. You had 4 million displaced people who relied entirely on international aid before this earthquake. And then you have multiple authorities, ruling groups on the ground. You have government-controlled regions. There we're seeing President Bashar al-Assad's government turning to Iran and Russia, the supporters of the conflict. Then you have the rebel-held areas where they are absolutely stretched thin on resources. Look, for a very long time, Syrians have felt that their plight has been forgotten by the world. I think this only compounds that fear, that isolation. There's really no more, I can't even imagine a more vulnerable population being struck by yet another catastrophe when they have so little left to even handle it.